Yo guys, welcome to a new video here on Patreon, and today we're going to be talking about missed passes, EXR files, cryptomats, everything that has to do with EXR formats. And if you don't know what EXR is, this video will hopefully help you. So if you don't know, I've been working on this shot for the Punisher creator challenge, or the challenge. Yeah, anyways, this shot is probably one of the most complex ones I've ever worked on in my life, considering it has so much compositing in it. Like, for example, this homeless guy here and the rat chilling, that's one render, and the guy's walking here, and that's one render, and the dog who's walking here is one render. This dude is one render. The whole city is one render. And I've kind of combined them all into one thing, and it's really necessary, and especially when doing compositing, that you have access to masks. So I didn't have to cut this whole thing out, and I didn't have to mask the dude out and stuff like that. So this video is gonna be a total mess and just a bunch of information, and hopefully y'all will learn a thing or two. So let's jump right into it. So let's just set up a camera here, and let's say I have a cool shot with a plane, and I have a little back wall area here, and I have a monkey, a little Suzanne chilling, and I'll put another one back here, and I will make another piece of geometry as well. So that's a render. I'm gonna switch this out to another HDRI that's a little more fitting. Do this one, and I'm gonna render it out. So maybe before I render it out, actually, let's check our settings. So usually when you render stuff, it's in the PNG format, and if you want to work professionally, and if you really want to elevate your renders to the next step, you want to be rendering an open EXR multi-layer with the float and RGBA. So some other stuff you want to check is that you include the missed pass, and you don't want to have all of these. You might want to have ambient occlusion, and if you really want, you can have some cryptomats. And I'm gonna explain all of this, but cryptomats, be really careful, because they can mess up your shit a bunch. So I'll show you what the crypto mats are, but yeah. So in the compositor, you have your different layers. You have your image. Wait, I gotta just render this first. But a normal PNG or JPEG file can only store colors and like a type of information, like this thing. So if I go in here and just check the image in here, that's all we get. But when we check those render layers here, we can also get an alpha. We don't really need an alpha because we don't have anything transparent in here. We can get a missed pass, which will calculate the depth. We can get ambient occlusion, which is basically a clay render, and we can also enable normal maps and albedos, but we don't really want those at the moment, so we'll uncheck denoising data. But the most important one is really the missed pass, and the cryptomat thing will give these crypto objects. So if I add a cryptomat in here, I can connect these up like this, and I can just, let's say I want the default guy, I can just paste his name in here, and wait, no wait, that's the armature. Let's type plane, and you'll get the plane, only that you'll get a mask of the plane, which is really cool. So maybe I click the, wait, I can add, and then I get the dude, and you can get masks for all this. It's really handy if you're doing big composites with big scenes. But how do you do this in After Effects or your composite of choice? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. So, actually, let's just jump into that right now. We have our render, and if I just hit render, view render, image, save as, and we want to save it as that EXR file. So if we go into After Effects, I'll open up a new comp, and I'll open up the tutorial EXR file. And if you're in After Effects or another any other editor, it will probably look really weird or really shitty. That's because EXRs are a different color space compared to sRGB, which is the monitor, or the After Effects, which is displaying it. So you're gonna have to walk around this. So if you go to the projects and into the settings, you just want to make sure that working space is set to none. This is set to 16. It can be 32 as well, but not 8 bits. And just make sure these are the same settings, and apply that. So if we go back to the effects, if we want to see our footage, we're gonna add an extractor plugin, an extractor file, and here you'll have all of your layers, but it will look really bad because right now After Effects is trying to convert this as an sRGB, which is really weird. So what you want to do is you want to add in a gamma, S-gamma, and if you don't have, I think this is a default thing, I'm not sure though, but you want to set it to, set the gamma to 2.2. Wait, no, okay, sorry guys, that's the wrong thing. Do not want to do the gamma trick. You're gonna have to, I'm getting confused between Fusion and After Effects. So, yes, you're gonna have to download a plugin called Open Color IO After Effects, like that, and I think it's this one. And you're gonna have to download it. Yes, here it is. I'll drop a link in the description. You want to download OpenColor.io and install the plugin. So this will allow you to display your shit. So if you just type in OpenColor.io, that will pop up, and you want to go into the configuration and hit custom. And I'll also drop a download to a file that you'll need. And it's basically Blender's color management, but with a few extra coding thingies in it. So if you just apply that and go into output space, set the display to filmic sRGB, your render will look exactly the same as in Blender, which is exactly what we want. So if we now go in here, we can change this view layer to be ambient occlusion, or the combined pass, which is basically this one. You don't need to worry about the crypto objects, but you have your depth pass will often not work, but you have your mist pass, which should work. And this is the really cool shit you can do. You can do a ton of it, ton of stuff with this extractor thing. So let's say we want to render in something else in the back here. So let's say I want a big monkey, and maybe this monkey takes forever to render if everything else is in the scene. So you just hide this in the final render. Just a demo, but render image again. Let's say you want to comp this into your file. You save this as well, and you can just bring the thing in right there, and you just copy the two effects. So we want these to overlap. What can we do? Well, we can use the mist pass. You see this one? The mist pass to control where we want this monkey to appear. So what we can do now is we can duplicate this. We're going to call this mist, and if we change it to mist, we can add in a levels effect, and if we just crunch these up as close as possible, we'll essentially get a black and white mask. But a better way of doing that is actually adding in a brightness and contrast node, setting this to legacy, and crank up the contrast to 100. And if you now change the brightness, we'll essentially get you'll be able to zoom in and get a mask from basically anywhere in our file. So if we just set this to be right in the back, we will be able to put our monkey right here. And if we toggle switches and modes, we can use the Luma Matte feature to key him in the background. And sometimes this will look a little funky. If we, it's because it doesn't have any anti-aliasing. So what you can do is you can add a camera lens blur in here and try to kind of fix it up like that. It's not perfect. Definitely not. There's another feature that you can use for this. I don't remember what it was called. Was it maybe dilate or don't remember, but you can essentially use this for quite a bit. So if I just crank up the brightness, I can control where I want this to appear, and you can do this with a lot. So let's say I want to add in some smoke. I just bring up my effects if I can find them. Yes, and I want some dust. Bring in this really low quality smoke asset, and what I can do is I can use the same mist pass and set this to Luma Matte as well, and I can just control where I want this mist to be. So I want it to be right here in the middle of the monkey, but I have to set it to screen to get rid of the black, and now I have this mist covering it all up. This is the smoke pass, not affecting this guy. And you can also use this for a lot of other stuff, the mist pass at least. So if you delete the brightness and contrast effect, you can use this to control like add mist and volume. So let's say I want my volume to be yellowish. So I make a yellowish solid, place it underneath the mist pass, and set it to be Luma Matte. And then this mist will appear. It will basically, like, if you don't know what a Luma Matte is, it will look at the layer above it and say if it's black, I will be 0 opacity. If it's white, I will be 100% opacity. And we can now use the levels effect to control this. So if I bring the midtones up, we'll essentially get more mist, and we can change the opacity of the mist like that, and you can just do a bunch of shit in the composite, and add in basically whatever you want. Same for depth of field. So I can add in like the camera lens blur. I've probably made a tutorial on this already, but if you just select your blur map to be the mist, you might also need to pre-comp it. Yes, we can see that we can add depth of field, and can we not? Yes, blur focus distance, and we can add some fake depth of field. It's not perfect though, considering you'll get a little bit of artifacts, but yeah, you can do a bunch of shit with this in the composite, which is pretty awesome. And I've, like, if we open up the composition I had for the Clint challenge, you can see that I used this just for everything. So I'll bring up the composition here. Yeah, I forgot that it's so slow because it has a bunch of shit in here. Well, I'll set it to half. So I'm gonna set this to some point where it's not covered. So this is the base render I got out of Blender, and you can see that Actually, I'm gonna bring this up to a little more at the end. Yes, so you can see that it's kind of hard to see everything. The dude is kind of merging in with the background, and there's no other guy here. The city looks really shitty, and there's no people walking around. Plus, there's no McDonald's bags. So, I actually rendered out another composition before this, and I just masked it out and put it on top, which worked really fine. Then for the dude, I rendered out, if I just delete the Luma mat, I just rendered out a guy walking in another composition, only him, with some clothing simulations on him, like for a coat. Oh, this composition is so slow. But yeah, the only downside to this is that it's really slow to work with. Yeah, here he is, and I wanted him to walk behind the dog and all that, so I made a mask using the same mist pass, like you can see it here. It's just the brightness and contrast up to 1 that I used to control where the dude should be visible. So I just set that to Luma Matte, and then it will mask out so he comes behind here. Same for the city here. Here we have it. It's just a separate pass, and yeah, I realized that it's actually not 100% what it should be, but essentially, if I now render out the same mist pass and set it to 100, I get the mask which I need, and then I just set this to Luma Matte, and it will mask out that part, which is perfect. So now I can replace the city, and I did the same for all some of the rain. So I wanted some rain being behind the character, so to separate him from the rest of the comp. So what I did was I just used the same mist pass, but I cranked up the amount a little bit. So where it's black, it will not appear, and where it's white, it will appear. So then I get this effect, which is really cool. And I used that for a lot, but yeah, you can just do anything really with this. And if you want to get into cryptomats, they're really cool as well. They have a lot of potential. So then you don't need to really use the mist pass, but you cannot do it on really large scenes. That's the downside. But I'll pull in an extractor, pull in some open color IO, set it to filmic. Great. So if I want to separate the dude from the rest, I can just add in a cryptomat effect and just click on the dude, and I think it's matted RGBA. So if I just remove the cryptomat on the other layer, he will be not affected. So I can, for example, color correct this using Lumetri color, and just tweak up the saturation or make it black and white. And I can make this dude, I can tint him red if I want to, and do just a bunch of stuff with it, because you have control over every single thing. I can select this thing, and maybe I want those to be black or gray. Maybe it didn't look too good, maybe it was too bright, or maybe I want it to be brighter. And you can do a ton of stuff with this. Maybe I want this one to glow. I just add a glow effect to only that one, and only that one will glow, and you can do that in post. And there are just so many things that you're able to do using an EXR layer. You can pack in everything, and if you want to have a clay render in the end, you just put the AO in. You have the ambient occlusion render. Perfect. You can get a clay render for every single object in your scene if you want that. Yep, there you have it. But that's essentially a really basic level on using EXR files, and I use them all the time now, and you can just do a lot of shit with it. But hopefully you guys found this little video helpful. Yeah, I'll see you in the next one.